Friends, in this video for iThought Wealth, I'm going to talk to you on the topic protecting yourself from consensus trades. Firstly, let us understand what is a consensus trade. A consensus trade is usually investment happening in a stock where everybody agrees that it's a must own stock and you need to definitely own it, or whatever opinion people form, whether it is buying or selling, everybody seems to agree on it. One interesting consensus trade of 2021 has been the pharma trade. In recent weeks, I would say that tech or information technology is also a consensus trade. Platforms are also a consensus trade. I gave you some examples of consensus trades where people feel that there is a compelling need to own these companies. Now let's talk about some trades which are consensus trades, but on the selling front, people feel that you must not own these companies. So there are some consensus trades on the other side also. Typically, I would say that companies which are in sectors facing high technological obsolescence will probably qualify under this category. Some of the names in auto will come under this category. You will have metals under this category, and you're seeing all these Evergrande crises where people feel that you must not own these companies. There are other companies which are owned by government. PSUs again have for long been a consensus trade where people felt that you must not own those companies. So there have been a fair share of consensus trades both on the must own side and must never own side. Firstly, I'll talk about the must own side. When we have a consensus trade on the must own side, you need to understand that the stocks which are in that list tend to quickly jump onto many indices. They may be on the small cap index, they may be into the mid cap index, some may be in MSCI, some may be in the FTSE index, and in the categorization they will be sitting in the middle, right in the middle of the investment universe of mutual funds, right? In such situations, most institutional investors have no choice but to own these companies. This is what sets them up for a consensus trade. While the companies enjoy good fundamentals, the compelling reason to buy them is that others will have no choice but to buy them later. If there are flows into that category, then the fund manager will be left with little choice but to buy these companies at even higher valuations. So the fact that these companies will become compelling stocks to own because of where they are in the indices and where they are in the investment universe of institutions makes them a compelling trade, right? At that point, we think that there is no choice but to continue to own them. At that point, it becomes a consensus trade where these stocks are clearly must own. You will agree with me that the Nestle's and Pidilites of the world have long been consensus trades, right? So have the Levers and the TCSs and Infosys and HDFC banks of the world. You can put Kotak Bank also in this list. But those are reasonably liquid stocks where there is enough liquidity, people can buy and sell these stocks freely. Where consensus trades have to be looked at more closely are in the small cap and the mid cap category. There, companies tend to get promoted and come into that investment universe, and when they come into that investment universe, few institutional investors will be actually owning them, and then everybody else rushes in to buy them. If you are already owning this stock, you start thinking that why should I sell it now? After all the institutional guys have to own this stock. And if you are an institutional fund manager, when you get fund flows, you are under compulsion to buy the stock because it is sitting right in the middle of your investment universe. You don't want to be left not owning the stock when the stock goes up. So the consensus trade is created, grown, nurtured and maintained by an investment compulsion to own a stock and not compelling conviction. It starts with compelling conviction, but as the trade matures, investment compulsion drives investment decisions far more than conviction. Today, if you take the small and mid cap category, most of the institutionally owned stocks as per the SEBI categorization are consensus trades because there is an investment compulsion to own these stocks. The fund managers know these are very expensive, but he doesn't want to stick his neck out, sell these stocks, make an exit and then look silly in the eyes of his investors. And this also applies to fund managers in other categories like PMS, AIF and other places. Everybody knows the investment compulsions of everybody else, and that is the reason why this consensus trade sustains itself. But this is not new again. In past cycles we have had consensus trades because people don't want to be left not owning performing stocks. People don't want to be looking silly when compared with their peers simply because they didn't want to own some popular stocks. So they just give in and continue to own those stocks even if there is a marginal risk of these stocks not performing for a long period of time, seeing a time correction, or after the time correction even seeing a real correction. They said, let me run it, let me not be left looking silly. When people go against the consensus, when a fund manager decides that he is going against the consensus trade and avoids owning a stock which can be a big presence in its benchmark, then performance in that stock can really put that investment manager back by a long period of time. Just try to recall what happened last year in Reliance Industries, or just try to understand what happened between February, March 2020 and now in Reliance Industries. Several active fund managers took a conscious call not to own Reliance for their own investment reasons. These reasons related to investment conviction or the lack of it in reality. I don't have any problem with that, neither can you, because each fund manager is entitled to his opinion and his investment conviction. But what happened was, there was a very fast re-rating of Reliance. Reliance did a rights issue and then there was a twin recapitalization of the company because first the company re-rated itself, then the capital expanded. So the weightage of Reliance in the benchmark went up significantly and the fund managers who did not own Reliance had to face the brunt of underperformance simply because they didn't own it. A few of those fund managers succumbed to the investment compulsion and started buying Reliance at a higher price, somewhere between 1800 and 2000, because they didn't want to take more pain because of under ownership or lack of ownership. Again, this is an investment compulsion. So at that stage, Reliance tends to sustain as a consensus trade. I just took Reliance for a name. We have no investment judgment on Reliance while we mention the name, but you can replace Reliance with an alkylamines. You can replace it with any company's name where the consensus trades are running. You can put DMart there, you can put any company's name there, where fund managers will not sell because they don't want to look silly, and there is an investment compulsion to own which is driving the decision, and investment conviction becomes a lesser factor as the valuation keeps going north when it rises. So in this situation, I see a lot of professional managers, and following them there are herds of retail investors who are owning small and mid caps because of this compulsion. They feel that funds will buy, nobody is selling, see new people are buying, new people are coming and saying it's good. Most importantly, no analyst is giving a sell report on this stock. First I talked a lot about managers, now I will talk about analysts and their role in consensus trades. If I am an analyst covering chemicals and I have the conviction to give sell calls in the top chemical companies, and this is succeeded by the company is going up by 10 or 15% or even higher in valuation, I will look silly in the eyes of the world. No analyst will want to risk that. So, the analysts are continuing to give investment opinions which are very disguised, which are very nuanced. You know, he is not telling you to buy, but he is not telling you to sell either. He is standing somewhere in between and doing a bit of a pole dance out there. So, analysts are not willing to stick their neck out because they don't want to look silly. So, when you have a consensus trade and when the consensus trade keeps growing as it is now, every stakeholder who can be a contrarian walks away from the trade or goes nowhere near breaking the consensus. He doesn't want to break the pot, right? So, the pot is full and it keeps hanging and it keeps going up like the dahi handi pots in Janmashtami. So, we think, oh, the pot is going higher, so nobody will be able to break that pot. But in reality, every pot which becomes too heavy to hold itself at a high will break, right? Somebody will break that pot. Typically, the smartest guys break consensus trades. Okay, it could be promoters who recapitalize the company by making a QIP. It could be insiders who sell their shares. It could be large institutional buyers who make a straight exit. It could be somebody who uses this market cap for M&A. Investment bankers will also use high market cap to create M&A transactions. We have seen that in levers, where levers gave paper and Hindustan Unilever bought GSK Consumer. This is what will happen. We have seen that even in a mid-cap company, JMM Pfaudler, where the investment bankers structured a transaction between one of the parent companies and the Indian subsidiary, where the subsidiary bought the parent. So, when you have very high market cap and investment consensus is complete, somebody will come to take advantage of that consensus trade. The consensus trade will never be wasted. In fact, no consensus trade in our market will be wasted. You can be completely sure about that. Some smart guy is going to use it. The question is, why can't the investor be the smart guy? We fear that if we sell and the valuation goes up, we will look silly in the eyes of our peers. But I believe that such decisions should be driven by our personal conviction and not by what the consensus opinion is. So, we need to invest more in building our conviction, bringing ourselves to a place where our conviction is enough for us to manage our decisions, and we will be completely unaffected by the consensus view. If you are very clinical, you can also use the consensus view to your advantage, and as it becomes more and more irrational, you keep selling and make your exit as the stock tends to peak out. The key thing is that you should not be stuck when the consensus reverses, stock peaks out, and then you see a sharp correction. I am seeing a lot of chemical companies trading 25-30% below their peak. Even this valuation looks very, very rich to me. But investors are hoping the consensus trade even now is that it will again touch that peak and go higher. We are also seeing consensus trades in number of companies where there is a lot of accounting license that has been taken. Something should be a revenue expense, but it has been capitalized. So, the profit tends to be inflated, and investors are thinking that this inflated profit, which gives a very high EPS, is the real earnings of the company, and we think that the PE ratio is low. But actually speaking, the PE ratio in reality is very high, because if you do conservative accounting, many of these companies, which are intermediate companies, will probably be trading at very high PEs today. And if there is commodity inflation and if there is a lot of tumult because of China, we could well see this trade reverse very fast. Friends, it is important to protect ourselves from consensus trades. It is as important that on the way down you are not cut and you are not chopped and you are not stuck. It is important that you walk to safety from a consensus trade and protect at least a good part of your capital. It is very critical that investors participate in consensus trades, but it is more important that they walk away from consensus trade when it becomes too much or too hyped for your comfort. So, you need to set that level when it's going to be too much for you, and you need to walk. Investors who walked may look silly in the near term, but over the long term, they survive to participate in many more trades. I know a lot of smart investors who create consensus trades and also walk away from them, but I know that retail generally follows smart investors only when the trade is created and never when he walks out, because nobody gets to know when the smart guy walks away. On that note, I would like to end this video and request you to share this video with all your friends who are celebrating consensus trades today and thinking that the party is forever. I'm sure that this viewpoint will help them revisit their investments and form their own informed investment judgments. Thank you for staying the course with us.